In this video, I want to share how you can make your first $500 profit selling on Amazon. In this video, I'm going to share the 6 factors that you have to keep in mind when you're selling on Amazon, because a lot of people think, if they sell $500 worth of stuff that they made $500 profit, but it's not the case. So I want to talk about the 6 factors that you're going to want to consider. And then I'm going to go through a real life example to examine sales and sell-through rate and profits and ROI so you can see how much money you're actually going to make. So let's talk about the 6 factors that you're going to have to consider when you set yourself a goal. And I was actually inspired to make this video because of a comment that came through in my eBay to Amazon Masterclass community. So big shout out to Alicia Davis. Alicia wrote in and said, I'd like to start with small goals. So I wanted to set a goal of making $500 a month. How much would I have to send in each month? And could you break down how much money or like the factors that I would have to consider? I kind of paraphrased at the end, but essentially Alicia wants to know, like, how much do I have to send in? What do the numbers look like? So let's break this down right now. Okay. So here are the 6 factors that are going to play a role in you hitting your profit goals. Number 1, how much value do you list and ship to FBA? So you have to understand, if you want to make $500 profit, you're going to have to consider many different factors. But the big thing is, the more inventory you have of quality inventory, the better your sell-through rate, the better your margins, the easier it's going to be to hit your goals. So let's just start from number 1. How much value do you list and ship to FBA? So I can't really answer your question of how much do you need to ship in to, make $500 profit, but just know the more inventory that you have in your Amazon FBA inventory, the better off you're going to be. And let me break it down a little more because this is obviously very vague. So what's your ASP? What's your average selling price? In order to determine like how many items do I have to send in to hit my goals, what's your average selling price? ASP. So you can take this by looking at all the items that you've sold over a period of time. So maybe you sold maybe 100 items for $1,000. So you would take 1,000 divided by 100, and that would be your ASP. It would be a $10 ASP. Maybe you have, we'll go through a scenario, but just know what's your average selling price. The higher your average selling price, the easier it's going to be to hit your goals, considering you have a strong ROI. But what's even more important, number 3, is what's your sell-through rate? You could have, like I said, number 1, you have to have a good inventory, and the more products, the better. But that doesn't mean anything if you have a low ASP or you have a bad sell-through rate. So for example, say you have 1,000 items in your inventory, and let's say there's 2 people. One person has 1,000 items, the other person has 1,000. If somebody sells 200 items per month, that's a 20% sell-through rate. 200, right? 1,000 by 200, or however you do the math. That's a 20% sell-through rate because they sold 200 out of 1,000. But if the other person sold 300 items out of 1,000 for the month, that's a 30% sell-through rate. So the person who has a higher sell-through rate is going to hit their goals a lot better. So that's why, like, when you're trying to figure out, Alicia, like, I'm trying to figure out how to make $500 a month. Like, how much do I have to send in? You have to consider, number 1, to hit your goal, you're going to have to grow your inventory. You're going to have to make sure you have a good ASP, right? Depending on your goals. You're going to have to track your sell-through rate. So again, the way you track this is taking a look at how much inventory you have and how much is selling to figure out what your sell-through rate is. I'll tell you right now, for booksellers and people who go to thrift stores and stuff, usually you see between like a 20 to a 30% sell-through rate. If you're less than 20, you got to improve that. If you're more than, I'd say, 30%, you're doing a really good job. For folks who are doing eBay to Amazon, and I know, Alicia, you're in the eBay to Amazon group, you really want to be shooting for, I would say, a 40 to a 50% sell-through rate per month, because you're really able to hand pick and select with a purpose the items that you want to pick. Like, you have millions of items you could source from. Like when you're at thrift stores and stuff, sometimes you're not able to be as picky because you're only able to source from the items that are in your area. So grow your inventory, number 1, improve your ASP, track and improve your sell-through rate, but also you have to know what your profit margin is. Like, if you want to hit $500 profit a month, and this is why this video kind of like, it's so hard to tell you a clear answer, like, oh, buy this many items and sell this many items. It depends. Like, if you have a crappy ASP, you're going to have to sell more. If you have a crappy sell-through rate, you're going to have to sell more and build your inventory much bigger. If your profit margins are at 20% compared to someone who has 40%, like, obviously you're going to have to work twice as hard to hit your goals. Number 5, how much are you reinvesting back into the business? Because again, tip number 1, how much value do you list and the size of your inventory correlates closely with how much you're reinvesting back into the business. Because if you want to maintain $500 a month profit, once your inventory starts going down, if your sell-through rates remain the same and your profit margins, you're not going to hit your goals because all your goals are pulling off of like how much inventory you have and the quality of your inventory. If you sell all your good stuff, then you're going to have crummy inventory. Your sell-through rates are going to drop and you're not going to hit your goals. So that's the thing that makes this Amazon business so hard. It's easy to hit your goals in the short term, but once you start selling through your inventory, you have to reinvest back into the business. So in order to take $500 and put it in your pocket, not only do you have to minus off your cost of goods and your expenses and fees and shipping, but you have to remember you have to consistently reinvest back into the business or else your inventory is going to drop and you're not going to hit your goals, okay? And also you have to consider your refund rate. If I have a 5% refund rate and you have a 10% refund rate, you're going to have to work that much harder. So, when you're thinking, how much do I have to send in? I can't give you a direct answer. For anyone here, anyone who gives you an answer, they're just making it up. There's no real answer other than if you answer the questions of how big's your inventory, what's the value of inventory, what's your average selling price, what's your sell-through rate, what's your profit margin and ROI, are you reinvesting money back into your business, what's your refund rate? And I'll give you guys a little scenario right here. Let's just say you had 200 items in your inventory, okay? And let's just say you have an ASP of 22. ASP stands for average selling price. So that means on average, when you divide the number of items you've sold by the value, your average item is selling for about $22. So you have 200 items in your inventory in this example. You have a $22 ASP. Let's just say your sell-through rate is 20% per month. So that means on average, if you have 200 items in your inventory and you have a 20% sell-through rate, 200 times 0.20 equals 40 items. So that means 200 items in your inventory and a 20% sell-through rate, you're selling about 40 items per month. Now, again, remember your ASP is 22. So if we take your 40 items times by 22, that means you're generating on average $880 in revenue. But like I said before, revenue doesn't mean anything. You have to minus off your fees. It's probably going to be around 30% or so, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, probably a little more with a low ASP like that. But let's just say it comes to about $264. That's 30%. It might be a bit more, but just play along for this example. So now you have to minus off $264 from the $880. Your cost of goods, maybe you're spending, $2 on average per book. So that's $80 for the 40 books you sold. And then maybe it costs like $20 to ship out 40 books. Maybe it's less, but that comes to, after you minus all that off from the $880, $516 in profit. So that's an example of how you could be making $516 in profit. But remember, there's a difference between revenue, which we said your revenue was $880, your profit, which was $516, versus what you can actually put in your pocket. Because remember, we're not including in this profit model right here the money that you have to put back in to reinvest. So let's just say you sold 40 items, you're going to have to replenish your inventory with another $80 worth of books. If you're able to find the same quality, which you sold 40, now you got to replenish your inventory back to 200 because now you're down to 160. That's going to cost you $80. So really, if you reinvest 516 minus 80, you're at about $436 in profit. Now, it's a lot easier to make the numbers work with a low ASP and, this current situation by finding books for $2 each. Once you start doing eBay to Amazon flips, the margins aren't as nice. You're spending a lot more money for the cost of goods. You have to reinvest a lot more money, but this is just a simple example to hopefully wrap your head around, like, how do you think about this? So when you're setting a goal and you want to make a certain amount of money, I'm going to start sending everybody to this video. These are the questions you ask yourself. What value of inventory do I need to get to? Like, for example, in my business right now, I'm doing, if I take a look at my sales right now, if I open up my Amazon seller app, I've done over 60,000. So let me know, is it okay if I put right here, if we can see that? Yeah, so I've done a little over $68,000 in sales. I'm spending $30,000 a month. So, my margins are a lot less, but I know I have to spend X amount of money to get my inventory over 1,000. Like, I have certain numbers and metrics I need to hit to maintain, to not only make my profits and maintain and grow my sales, but I'm reinvesting back into the business. So top line revenue, profit, and then what you actually put in your pocket after you reinvest back into the business. Thrifting models are a lot easier to hit those targets. Once you go to OA wholesale, it becomes a lot more challenging because you're starting to deal with a lot more money. And just little issues can cause chaos in your business. So hopefully this helps a little bit. Ask yourself these questions, guys. And if you have any follow-up questions, drop a comment down below. I'm here to help you guys. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys. Much love. And hey, join my free Facebook group, rakeandprofit.com/community. We have over 7,000 members in there. So if you want to ask a question, you feel alone, you want some help, go in there, guys. We have myself in there. We have coaches, people answering questions. Get in there, guys. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.